Yeah, so if I understand Robert's question, you're saying that um, token usage is a big part of the cost. And because consumers are used to a fixed tiered pricing, the usage-based pricing is hard to be accepted by the users. Yeah, totally. I agree with that. So actually, Snowflake does a really good job in evangelizing usage-based pricing, and it allows them to be able to to show the connection between the value and their price. So it's like, okay, how many rows or like how big is your data that you are actually putting into the platform, and is directly associated with your pricing. How predictable that is another question. There are now tools to help you do those things. But yes, it was Snowflake benefited so much on that. And for AI, because you're so much dependent on the LLMs and the usage of LLMs. So what I've seen a lot of AI companies is using basically a credit system, like Adobe use Firefly use that, and a lot of the other AI companies is like, here's the token size for this tier, for this type of usage, which is associated with the value that you're getting. What's important is predictability. Like, people needs to have some sort of idea. If I do X, I'm going to consume Y number of credits, so that I know how my assumption is, like a consumption of these credits are going to be validated.
Got it. Yeah, I'd like to add a bit more on this one because Robert said it's a consumer product. So yeah, this actually reminds me some of work I did get involved in Grammarly, because when the OpenAI came up, when Grammarly was trying to also onboard the Gen AI feature on top of the proprietary model, there was a huge discussion on, hey, what if people use this too much, right? We're going to end up losing money. At the time, the token fee was pretty expensive, right? So the team has to do a lot of scenario to understand, hey, at what point we're going to watching out and potentially charge more money. So there was a lot of anxiety at the time. So I think people fear a lot of over usage. But then soon it turned out to be not a big problem, because the fee obviously has been dropping very rapidly, and also people has been using a lot of different product, right? The usage wasn't that high. So the good thing is the company decided first not to charge it based on usage for consumer, right? Second is just watching the usage on the back end, making sure, right, there is a good monitoring and distribution, so we know where the bar is at. One of the company I'm advising right now is actually testing the pricing, whereas one is the two variable pricing where they have the seed and they have a cap on the limits, right? If you're going over the limits, you still have to pay extra. Whereas they are simplifying down to the seed-based pricing, because a lot of prosumers just get very confused, right? They don't like the unpredictability for the usage-based pricing, whereas the enterprise is definitely more used to that. So maybe one thing to get back to Robert is, yeah, consumer, I think it's from some of the data point that I observe, it's easier to keep things simple, right? Just somehow make whatever calculation we do on the back end, just making sure, right, you're making money, right? But keep it upfront and simpler. Don't let the consumer guess what it is. But to be enterprise, it's a whole different game, right? They're used to this.
Yeah. Another quick add to that is translating the credit with the end value the consumer is getting. So in the case of Vizard, which is like a AI video editor tool, the usage from AI is translated into the minutes that you're able to edit in your video, so that for consumers, it's really easy to visualize and understand how your AI usage is associated with the end value you're getting. So potentially that's an angle to consider.
Yeah,
And
Cool.
Daniel
This is,
and Robert also bring up a good point about validating usage-based pricing, which is also true. Is it, especially if you do have a Teams model, who used all these credits? What did they do? You have to start validating that. And then another point is just predictability in the forecasting. Absolutely. I think the pre-token could be one aspect, but it's also, it's how visible are you? Like, who used those credits? What do you show in a dashboard? What does an admin see? Those are things that sometimes is not thought of or built into the first few product development and features. It's usually after, when people are saying, hey, I need visibility. I want to see something beyond on my invoice other than the usage of this month versus last month. And I think that's what we might start seeing this year, what that transparency and that dashboard visibility will look like, to help teams understand this is what you paid for, or to what Jared mentioned, maybe a pre-purchase token could be more helpful to help create that predictability for both, the AI team, but also for the team using the tool.
Yeah, it's evolving, right? Short answer. It's a truly more like a utility, like a gas bill, right? So I think I think people are just really getting started to testing. We're going to see a lot of new movements. Back to, I think that usage pricing could potentially have some advantages, because in Grammarly, one of the pain point is when students subscribe for the premium, they only use that for the final exam and they cancel immediately after the exam ends, right? So if the product is based on the usage pricing, that wouldn't be the case, right? You just pay less during the summer vacation, right? You pay a little more when you have an intensity. So it takes a lot of, it potentially can, well, even though it's less predictable, but it potentially is more suitable for the habits. So we'll see. It's still early, so let's all keep a close eye to see what might be working well. So